Our next guest is Kevin Singleton. Kevin Singleton is a Grammy Award-winning songwriter, cross-cultural musician, and social entrepreneur. With a passion for youth development, Kevin founded Elevate in New York City in 2009. It's a mentoring 501c3 that has raised and invested over $4 million into the New York NYC Community School District 8. Through its innovative approach, Kevin has positively impacted countless lives, boasting in a remarkable social ROI over 95 million, currently serving as the Vice President of Leadership and Development for Elevate USA. Kevin's dedication to empowering communities shines through his various roles, including board member, donor relations at Elevate New York. He also contributes, his expertise to Jericho, a haven for creatives, and serves on 2 advisory councils, furthering his commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Kevin Singleton is a true trailblazer in the realms of music, mentorship, social change. Welcome to the show, Kevin. Hey, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's great to be with you all.
Yeah. So, Kevin, our today's topic is most complain about the education problems at Elevate USA. We solve them. So, why did you found Elevate in New York?
So I was a motivational speaker before I founded Elevate, and I spoke to about 3.5 million kids in 20 countries and 48 United States. And I, sorry about the the fire truck outside. I don't know if
Perfect timing.
And I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm tired of going in and getting another standing ovation in another gym or auditorium somewhere in this country or around the world, and then leaving, after I get a paycheck. How can I have generational impact and community impact? And I found this program that had been, the time that I found the Elevate model, it had been going about 25 years in Denver. And in that form, it was called Colorado Uplift. There was no Elevate USA, the organization I work for now, when I founded Elevate New York in 2009. That was just a name they had come up with the first replication in Orlando. They called it, the people in Orlando said, hey, how do we do in Orlando what you guys are doing in Denver? They said, we'll tell you how to do it, but you got to come up with your own name. And that name was Elevate Orlando.
All right. So then how did you decide what school to start at?
Well, it was about relationships. So basically everything we do with our organization is relational. There's a relationship with the school. There's a relationship with the students. There's a relationship with the parents. There's a relationship with different partners in the city. We partnered with an organization called Instanet. It's a Nomura company. Japanese bank, and it's $1 billion part of that house, and so we would take kids from poorest congressional district in America down and fob into $1 billion boardroom. So everything is based on relationships, and I simply had a relationship with a math teacher at a school in the Bronx, and it happened to be the poorest congressional district in America. So I'd like to say that I've done a lot of planning, but I just had a relationship.
Yeah, that's the truth. Is how we met, came from a relationship, just a connection, right? Okay,
that's exactly right.
So let's before I jump in, kind of describe how Elevate in New York currently works today.
Sure. So we've partnered the high school where we are. We've partnered with that school for now 12 years, and we have 2 teachers that are in a classroom. And they teach 180 days a year. A lot of people go, now, is this an after-school program? Well, yes, it's in school and after school. And so the school district signs off on our award-winning curriculum. We've got over 1,000 lesson plans, at least 140 lesson plans per grade from grade 6 through 12. And so because of that curriculum that has been so successful over now 42 years, schools will let us in to teach the kind of things that someone taught you and I. Things like leadership, vision casting, communication, positive work ethic, caring, courage, decision-making, integrity. We teach that as the subject matter, as an elective class. So kids, they're choosing their schedule for next year, and they go, okay, I'm going to take English, history, underwater basket weaving, and a leadership class. And that leadership class is Elevate. So our teachers, they teach that class every day to high school students, and then they teach the high school students to teach what they've learned to 3rd through 6th graders, because we believe our highest form of learning is teaching. Then those same teachers, we call them teacher mentors, they hang out with kids after school in what I call boardrooms, ball games, diners, and coffee shops. That's where they continue the conversation they began in the classroom. Then those same teachers hang out with kids out in nature. That's where they apply what they've learned in the classroom, whether it's falling out of a whitewater raft or falling down a mountain. We want to put kids in a situation where they'll fail, because we know that if they can fail, that they can truly begin to learn and apply what we taught them in the classroom.
Kevin, that's not right. We're supposed to protect our kids from failure, right?
No, we want to make them fit. Everybody knows that. Let me not get in trouble before we even start one here.
No, I love that. I think it's great because honestly, you know, I mean, I've been a failure all my life. It's the best recipe for success. Is, you know, the worst possible thing about failure is not learning from it, right?
Yes,
not learning
that's
from
exactly
it.
Right.
That's so good. All right, so essentially, this I guess it's almost like a virtuous cycle, right? To where a teacher is pouring into a student who pours into another student, et cetera.
That's
exactly
exactly
right.
Exactly right.
So talk to me about the efforts in Seattle, because that's what we're here about Seattle.
Sure. So I'm a part of the, you said it in the intro, I'm part of the National Business Development Team for Elevate USA. When I started in New York, I was a third city in America. Now we're in 21 markets. Navajo Indian Reservation is one. We just launched Augusta, which is very exciting because Gary Player, I think he's the winningest golfer in history. He hadn't won the most majors, but I think he's won more tournaments than anyone else. The Gary Player Foundation is a part of what we're doing, and Elevate Augusta, his daughter Amanda Player is on the board. And so when we were looking at the country and going, where do we go next? I raised my hand and said, hey guys, I'm moving to Seattle. I'm working on a music project there as well. Hey, let's do it, man. So I've been spending the last year and a half or so building relationships with leaders so that we can launch an affiliate in the Puget Sound in Seattle. I don't know what we're going to call it, because the way we do it nationally is we provide the framework and the training, and we allow the local people to own the project. And so we're looking for 2 to 4 what we call champions, and those are people who, as in my title says, they actually want to do something about the educational problem in America. A lot of people talk about it, and what we do is we don't spend a lot of time talking about it, Elevate. We just go at the grassroots levels and begin to help kids, because kids, they're the same as they were. People say kids have changed. Well, somewhat, but in a sense, they're the same as when we were. We just want to know that somebody cares about us. Harvard calls it the caring adult model. And so we hire people that become those caring adults in these kids' lives. You know, people that will do things like my mom did, or my uncles did, or, you know, those people who are helping me. So where we are in the life cycle, I'll call it, of Seattle, is we're looking for our champions who will build a board. Then that board will hire an executive director. That executive director will hire the staff, and then we'll choose the schools. So we're not even ready to look at schools right now, although I do have some hints of where we might begin.
Awesome. That's great. So essentially the next phase would be assembling this board. That sounds like that's where you're at, right? So how do people get contacted? How do they get involved? Like, take a next step? Is it a connection with you?
Yeah, it's a connection with me, and my number's right there. You can also go to the elevatetheusa.org. We don't have a website yet in Seattle, but elevatetheusa.org, and you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to me. I'll give you my email address. It's ksingleton@elevatetheusa.org. And so those are the ways that you can reach out.
Okay. So we had a bunch of things to talk about, but I think based on exactly what you're trying to accomplish, I want to kind of stay in there. Can you share with me some of the success stories from your Elevate in New York?
Oh, absolutely. I'll call him Paul. I won't give you his last name, but Paul was in our first year, and Paul came into the classroom, and he's one of those kids that everything the teacher says, he's got to say the opposite, even if he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, that kid became almost like a son to me, I remember when his mom passed away, I think I might have been the only person in the room who didn't speak Spanish. And the young lady who is now our teacher, she works for our organization. It's another story. It's pretty fascinating. She was interpreting this 3 hour. I don't know if you've ever been to a Spanish wedding in the Bronx. It's about 3 hours, and
It's very
and
specific, so no, I have
very, very. Neither had I, my friend. So Paul, when he graduated from high school, went to college, and he kept dropping out and going back in. I'm going, Paul, what's the deal? Well, his mom had been battling cancer, and every time he would start school, she would come out of remission, and he would have to go and help. They had a couple of daycares that their family had. Still living in poverty. I mean, every kid in our school, it was a Title I school, so that meant that every kid had free and reduced lunch. There was no cash register in our cafeteria, and that's how they determine whether or not a kid is eligible for free and reduced lunch based on the parents' income. So, they had a daycare center, but it's not like a daycare center in Issaquah, my friend. Believe me, I walked in it one time. And so Paul would leave school. He'd go back he'd go help his family. He re-enrolled. He went through the cycle 3 or 4 times. Today, Paul is a pre-med student with over a 3.5 average.
That's amazing.
And I'm just going to start calling him Dr. Paul now.
Dr. Paul.
Yeah, because this kid is just the resilience. It's just pretty amazing. And he's Paul the fourth. I almost said his last name. And the previous 3 were either in jail or involved with drugs and gangs. And so it's pretty amazing to see this kid's transformation. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad we connected. I'm glad we were able to meet. I'm glad I'm able to put a spotlight on this. I hope, I'm going to cut this video so you can share this with others so people get a better idea of, what it is you're doing here and planning on building in the community. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. And I learned a lot about real estate, man, in that first segment. I'm going to become a fan, man.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I do. Tucker and I try to keep it real. I'll bring him back on there as we conclude. Hey, Tucker, anything you wanted to ask Kevin?
No, I just think what you're doing is outstanding, and I think we need it in our area. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of the Seattle area or the East Side as a place that needs that type of service, but we are. It happens right here, and so thank you for what you're doing.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for what you all doing as well.
All right, cool. All righty. I just thank you, everybody, for coming out. I appreciate it. If you have a business or charity that you want to spotlight in Seattle or on the East Side, I'd love to have you. I hope you enjoyed the show. And now I'm just kind of stalling because I'm trying to find the outro, because we've got this cool little outro video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.